In this video, Gene Munster from Deepwater Asset Management shares a cautious outlook on Tesla, noting a significant decline in growth reflected in recent delivery numbers. He emphasizes that despite his concerns about the short-term financial impacts and flat revenues in 2024, he remains optimistic about Tesla's long-term potential due to its competitive edge in AI and innovations like Optimus and robo-taxi.
I think that the street whisper numbers of 355K, that's in the right zip code. The in-print numbers of just under 380 are still a little bit too rich. The 355 implies down 8% year over year. So to answer your question how I'm feeling, 6 months ago, Elon was talking about 20 to 30% growth in calendar 25. I'm thinking Q1 comes in at down 8%. So it's been a remarkable reversal of speed. It does not change my long-term optimism about the company, but it has been just this remarkable reversal.
Okay, that's exactly where I wanted to go. I was going to ask you if it's fixable, and you obviously think it is. How come it hasn't changed your long-term view of the company? It seems like a lot has changed here.
A lot has changed, but it's ultimately about physical AI. That's the competitive advantage that Tesla has longer term. And I think that what they're doing around Optimus, what they're doing around the robo-taxis, what all of this is clearly the future of the company. And ultimately, I think that investors are going to get behind that. Stock currently trades at 120 times this year's earnings. It's just a huge number. And I think that you really have to believe in the long term. And I think that they've got $37 billion in cash right now. So they got plenty of dough to get to the long term. So I continue to feel good about that this year it's just going to be a throwaway year effectively. 2025 is a transition year. It's going to be something where the long-term investors, present company included, are really focused on next year. And just to quickly frame that in, Scott, is this year I think that the revenue basically is going to be flat. Now, that implies that deliveries this year are going to be down probably about 5%. They have that energy business, small, 10% of revenue, but that's probably going to be up around 40%. Gets us to flat revenue. But next year, I think that the growth will accelerate back to that 35% is a much bigger clip. One final point, I think it's just important. We were just talking about the numbers. I do want to emphasize a dynamic that we're going to see tomorrow is the street will process the delivery numbers and then quickly shift to what's the earnings impact. And this comes back to how I'm buckled up for tomorrow at least, is that the earnings impact for the street for calendar 25, the street's looking at non-GAAP numbers of 275. I think that the number is going to come closer to 2 to 220. And for fiscal 26, even though I think the growth improves significantly, earnings probably 3 to 340 and the street's at 375. So big picture here, Scott, let's just get this reset. We've been waiting for 2 months for this, get this reset underway and then start focusing on the longer term.
So how do you get a reset, your word, if Musk is making himself fully entrenched in politics and he's about as entrenched as a CEO, founder could ever be, right? I think we would agree with that. All roads always lead back to Elon. So how do you model the personality of Musk and how he has changed his priorities, or at least added a huge priority to his already busy schedule, and think that that doesn't have a longer-term implication on the company's business?
Well, when I talk about a reset, I'm referring to the full year this year. And that kind of captures the scope of your question, is that I think that I mentioned the down 8% deliveries for March. I think that June actually gets worse, down 10, 12% for June. And then we start to see a recovery. We're modeling for down 5 in September and up a few percent in December. So the way you get around that effectively is I believe that people's, appetite to listen to this, to be impacted by this. Essentially, people just get fatigue about the Musk kind of political narrative. And I think that, history would say that that tends to repeat itself. And I think this is going to take, this isn't a 6-week turnaround on that piece. This is, call it 3 quarters of this year. But that's how I think about the reset is Elon keeps doing what he's doing. I think the general public and the brand issues just kind of start to fade to the back as people just move on and start talking about other things.